Hey guys, I'm back. I feel like I'm not sure that for y'all. I was gonna work out. My friends, it probably is. Okay. Yeah, I just thought I had to lower it so I could like have my head straight. I was about to work out. But like recently, since like I got back from college, I got sick of this whole thing. I kind of have been feeling it's been hard for me to like work out. I don't know, maybe it's my body's like fear of like overexerting myself like I did with studying. Cause when I was at campus, I think I only had worked out like 5 times, and yeah, like it definitely was like not consistent. Cause it was really hard to go for me. Like it was not like there was no way to go. It was like I always found an excuse not to go, not because I was like lazy or anything, but because I felt like I had to study, and I did. But my whole life became studying, like I said. But yeah, I I feel like really strange. Like I don't feel like normal. Like I don't feel myself. I don't know if that's because like I am have just been sitting in the presence of God for so long. I feel grateful for my life and where I am at right now, but my mind is like so ungrateful. And I don't know if that's the enemy or I don't know if it's just myself. I feel like parts of it is just myself because every time I think about me trying to work out, like now I'm wearing my gym clothes. Yo, actually, this shirt actually belonged to my dad. It was like, it was just his shirt. I just been having this shirt and I actually forgot it was his. But when I used to work out, especially wearing this shirt, maybe I wasn't as big as I thought I was yet again, but actually, when I used to work out, I just felt like I had to prove something to him. But you can't prove something to somebody who's dead. But in my mind, I mean, that's what I was doing. I didn't see any other way. And I think coming this far, well, that's copyright. But yeah, you can't prove something to somebody who's dead. But that was my mindset for so long. So if you kind of see my body change, from the beginning to the end of 10th grade, it was cool, but I just got so like slim, especially in the beginning of junior year. I was so slim. I remember the first day of junior year, I felt so slim, I felt so frail. And I don't like being skinny, like dry, you know? So, like, I felt so, like, vulnerable. I felt so vulnerable, and I just felt like if something happened to me, I would not be able to defend myself. Even now, maybe I would not be able to defend myself now, strength-wise. But maybe I think that also stems from just, like, not having a dad and just being so exposed as a female. So having that, like, harder core of a exterior was where all of that stemmed from, because I ask my like siblings all the time, my two younger brothers, like, bro, am I a mean person? Not because I really care, but because I really want to know what they think. Like I care to some extent, but not like care enough to really change that, because I know whoever I am now is who I am in Christ, right? But whenever I try to be like who the church said I had to be Christian as a woman, I always got taken advantage of by guys, whether it was just being demeaned as a female or a human being, whether I was like sad about something or just reacting to something that's human. And I feel like that's not right. But whatever. All in all, it really just bothered me because I would have issues from like working out until I passed out when I was in 10th grade and 9th grade. Like I would wear gym clothes to school in the beginning of 10th grade because I was going to the gym every day. And then when I got home, I would take a shower. But sometimes before I went to bed, I would still work out. And I wear my waist trainer to sleep, bro, all the time. And it wasn't like a regular waist trainer, like something you wear under clothes. It was like a sports waist trainer. So when I woke up, I could not breathe. Like, if you see the waist trainer now, it's falling off the bone. And I think I'm just, like, traumatized from that. Not to victimize myself, but to just be honest with myself. And, you know, I never really wanted to be, like, a social media person to where my whole life was out and about. But I always wanted to be, like, as a kid, I always wanted to be famous. And I always wanted to just, how you say, be somebody important. And in my life, I felt like I was never important. And I felt like it was never going to happen. So, where was I going with it, bro? Anyways, yeah. I don't remember where I was going with that. I guess all in all, to connect it back, I always wanted to be famous, but I never wanted to be a famous person where everything's out and about. I was about to like explain why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because I can't really talk to my mom. She gets too emotional, and she has always let me know throughout the past 5 and few weeks that my dad has been gone from this earth, that when I'm sad, when I'm vulnerable, when I'm talking about serious things, she can't take it. And I feel like it took me years to understand that as we're here now. But I never wanted people who knew me on social media or who knew me from the hallways at school, not even the hallways, because I was never like known or whatever until senior year. But I just think like taking myself out of that and stop thinking about like, oh, like what is this person gonna think. And I still think about that now, but I'm just trying to get out of that because I just wanted to have not so like have this out so people know, because nobody cares about your life. No one cares, right? But it's about me just having a space where I can be myself and talk about the truth of myself. A lot of Christians feel like they have to go in all these directions, and sometimes I also feel I compare myself to other people who are not me. So if they're not you, why do you constantly feel like you need to then be in those spaces? And then, that's where God starts talking to me, and during the day when you're not constantly in the word, you tend to evade that. Also, me just not having a church community where I could go to people is also a thing where I feel like I'm lacking, I'm falling short. But it's continuous prayer that has to be done in order for me to come to certain conclusions on my life and where God wants me to go with that. Because I don't really feel like when I get old, I'm going to regret certain things I did. But in the moment when you're living it, you never feel like you're going to regret. But I just want to make the most of my life through Christ who strengthens me, because without Christ, I would not be here, Like 5 years ago around this time, I was getting memories about my old best friend and what she had did to me. 5 years ago? Nah, 4 years ago. In 2020, nah, 3. 4 years ago. 4 years ago? 2022, 4 years ago? Oh, yeah. Yeah. 2022. I was getting, like, memories. And I just, like, couldn't be myself because I felt like I had to be in the pursuit of revenge. And when I finally got that, I didn't even get revenge for real, but when I finally tried to pursue that, this is before I even became a woman of God, right? I was like, but am I really going to be happy if I get this? I wasn't, because I was chronically ill inside, mentally disturbed. I was depressed. No therapist, worldly therapist could help me. My mom couldn't help me. I didn't have any friends. I never really had friends. I didn't have any friends. So there was nobody to go to, all my aunts and uncles, they all have their own children, so it doesn't really matter about how I feel, you know. My cousins, I'm not close to any of my cousins, not for real. Um, and yeah, like my siblings, they're all younger than me, so they just looking at me as the example. But like sometimes it's hard, and it's still hard, cause my whole life to this day, I still don't have nobody to talk to about my authentic feelings. Even my like, yeah, no, because when I talk about my real feelings, people just look at me like they have no clue what I'm talking about. Unless I'm talking about somebody else, like, oh, Kawhi, you're so different. Like, you're a really good person. Like, I mean, in reference to like when I'm helping somebody else out and giving them advice, it's like, okay, wow, like, you're a really good person. Like, I know, like, there's not a lot of people like you, like, and that's good. It's good to hear in a moment. It makes me feel better about myself. But, when you step out of that and you stop helping people, it's like, dang, but what about me? Not what about me, like, oh, I wish people do that for me. It's not even that. It's just, when you take a step back and you look around, you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, dang, wait. Like, I'm really not doing so good either. But it's the constant, like, putting on, not a facade. It's not a facade. My life is not a facade. But it's putting on the, not performance. It's not a performance, because this is who I authentically am. I know that now. But I've been knowing that. I've been understanding that for a long time. But just giving to others and not giving to yourself. And I don't, like, there's been times where I can sit with myself and say, like, I don't love myself, but not because I hated myself or anything. The aspect of what is the point of me living? Not if I'm not living for myself, but if I don't feel up to it physically, emotionally, mentally, how am I supposed to pursue what God is telling me to pursue if I can't even show up for myself? I don't understand. And I've never been able to show up for myself. Constantly, my whole life was about giving, One moral that my parents taught me that always stood in my head was, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But everybody else in the world seems to have said, truck that, throw that in the trash, and serve themselves. I just posted something about that on my Instagram story. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really understand. I don't really get it. But it's not because I'm better. It's not because I'm conceited. It's not because I see myself as like so high and so loyal or anything. No, my fleshly desires is not to serve myself, but it's not because I was raised to forget myself. I don't think so, right? I know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't know, because confusion is not of the Lord, right? I know, I get, right? Like, what, for like, what would it be? Um, I just never thought I was that special. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Like, honestly, I think that's what it is. And then just like the people who I grew up thinking up until this day were like special because they had this thing or looked a certain type of way, they're struggling not as much as I am. I'm not struggling. They avoid their problems. I don't. I still struggle, but not as much as they do, because it's different. But it still is a struggle, which makes it that much more serious. I don't look at it as much as a crisis anymore. I've reached out to my best friend, my mom, family, friends, and they've all said things to me, but when I go to them, it's in a state of like, I'm physically and emotionally tired, and the only thing they can say is, don't give up. I'm not giving up. If I wouldn't be here if I was giving up, but I'm tired. That's the thing. But no one seems to understand that. If someone is tired, you want them to keep giving. Okay, yeah, okay. That's what God says. Don't give up. In it. Go that many miles. I understand that. But what can you tell me? And I think the emotional dilemma and problem with me is that I don't understand how somebody could give me, so people can't give me advice I could give me. People don't give me advice I give. But it's not because it's me, it's because I feel like my advice comes from a certain place, bro. Like, that's how I feel. Everybody says the exact same thing. If you were to ask me and a friend of mine, a random friend picked from who I follow, right? That's the same question. We would answer in two completely different ways. But all in all, I think the best thing that I can do right now for myself is to just try my best workout. I am going to my ballet class on Saturday. Work out, yeah, without hurting myself, because that stuff was like detrimental to my body. I think I'm saying the word wrong, but it was like sometimes when it happened to everybody when I would stand up in school, like not even at home. Like at home it still happens. Like I have like a low iron, low blood, whatever. But I remember this one time I had worked out so like rigorously, and I got up and I just saw black spots everywhere. Like I couldn't even see I was in gym. And I told my best friend Jasmine, and then she was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? In 10th grade. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I don't blame her. I don't blame anybody. It's nobody's problem, But emotionally, yeah. I feel I've ended up in the exact same place I was all those years ago. I'm not the same person. I've been saying that, but the better way to say is that I'm not the same person, but I've ended up in the exact same place. Because my point back then, when I was best friends with this other girl, from middle school to the first year of high school, was that I did things for you, and I would do things for you, that I now realize, right, you would never do for me. Ever. And that's what got me. Because I didn't know that people didn't really care about me. I knew, but I didn't want to believe it. But it's not because I was like, oh, I'm like so mental, I'm living in denial. No, I really just didn't. I didn't think about it because I had a good life. I was at home. I had my father, my brothers. They your siblings mess around, annoying you, fine. Go to sleep, eat cereal, go to school. I didn't have no problems in my life. Like my parents. Everybody's parents have problems. But it was nothing like, I'm getting abused at home, my parents drinking and doing these things. No, it was none of that. It was nothing like that, ever. My only problem was my only thing was people from the outside. Like once people from the outside started getting involved in my life, bro, it was a never-ending cycle of constantly just giving to people who don't have. And it wasn't because I knew that I had it better than them. I didn't know that. But I just felt like they weren't okay. But I didn't know the whole time I'm doing all these things, like telling them about my life, the trips and road trips I'm going on with my family, they were getting jealous of me the whole time. And I never wanted to say that. Like when my dad had first died, I was in 7th grade and I was like, but no, wait. All these people were just jealous of me. Because, it makes sense. Every day in school, I'm talking about how my dad was taking me and my siblings during the summer. Like, what you do for the summer. We're talking about all types of things. And and we went to Disney World. And we went on a road trip. Most of the girls didn't have no father. So, it makes sense. Is it understandable? I don't know. It's understandable. It's understandable. It's a human thing, right? But it still hurt when I realized that, dang, ain't nobody give a fuck about me because I had a dad. Well, now I don't, and now I know how you guys feel. Back then, that's what I said to myself when I was 12. And who told me condolences? I didn't tell anybody giving, but I also didn't have any friends after quarantine, friends, how you just like to perform. Nah, but there's some people who really have friends, yeah. But whatever it is though. That's the conclusion I came to, and so this definitely got longer than I wanted to be, but I talk a lot and I have a lot of emotions. I feel like I never really got to express my whole life. I don't want to make this long. I'll make this a series because I don't care about the quality. I don't care about any of that. I just want to talk and put my videos one place. And if they don't get any views, that's fine too. But yeah. And so like that's really it. Like it's not it, but for this conversation, like I think I would just end it here. But that all of that stuff just kind of stemmed to me just being that much more alone and ending up in the same place because emotionally, not spiritually, not physically, not personality wise, right? Because God called us to be different, not the same. But emotionally, I'm not the same emotionally, right? If anything, my heart is more hardened. But and I'm constantly right now in my walk with God, asking God to unharden my heart so I can continue to live my life how He's intending it to be. Because God didn't harden my heart, I hardened my heart because of human beings. But you can't blame humans. Why? Because we're human. Because I've sinned before. So what makes me better than the next person? Absolutely nothing. So whatever. But yeah. Same place emotionally where it gets hard to talk to people and you constantly think of, scenarios in your mind where you just want to completely disappear from a life you once lived. And that happens to a lot of people. A lot of people talk about that. But I just wanted to come out and say that I'm feeling that right now. And yeah, people move on. No one's exclusive. And yeah, I just think that there's like a kid out there who's thinking the same way I was thinking. In a way of, yeah, no, best friends, you need friends in this. You don't need friends. Because you gotta understand that a lot of people in this world are selfish. And if you are a part of that 1% who's not, you will continue to get hurt. I couldn't tell you a single time in my life where a year, month, week in my life where I wasn't dealt the shorter end of the stick or the wicked hand because I was constantly giving 100% and the other person was giving 50. And that built bitterness. Like right now I feel a lot of bitterness towards a lot of people who I once called my friends, a lot of people who I thought were supposed to it's not building back up, like I rebuke that in Jesus' name, but it's like trying to form and I'm just rebuking it. But it's, yeah, I'm just not like feeling it, but I feel the reoccurring of it. That's why I'm saying like I ended up in the same place emotionally because when my dad passed away, I got in that place because I realized, yo, everybody is a clown. No, I'm joking. Everybody is playing games. Not everybody's a clown, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, so yeah, I'm in the exact same place emotionally. What am I going to do? I'm going to read my Bible again because that's the only thing I can do. And if God spares my life in order to accomplish the goals He has for me, that's great too. And yeah, that's the only thing I can do. That's what's in my control. God calls us to only focus on what we can control, not what we can't. And I can't go back to the past. I can't, I think, and it's even beyond I always say it's the end, but yeah. I always, okay, whatever though, but yeah. I feel I constantly to stay in shape. But it's just hard because my fleshly desire is not to be selfish. But I don't think that makes any sense because I was always alone in the body. But in the spirit, God was always there. When you completely detach from the Lord, and He's always with you. But if you don't acknowledge His presence, you will die feeling like there was no one who cared. But there was someone I'm not going to sit here and tell you, because God has all these plans for you. It makes sense to mention those plans, but not a lot when that person doesn't understand what the heck you're talking about. Like, someone who doesn't know about church, never been to church, never even heard about Jesus, and I'm just mentioning that because this girl made this really inspirational video about how God has to clean your whole slate when you like do something detrimental and you die in sin, right, without repenting, and I mean, like, essentially you go to hell, right? And yeah. But yet again, that's me thinking about others and how to help others and not how to be there for myself. Someone can't not be there for themselves. Because I'm not Jesus. That's the conclusion I've come to. I'm not Jesus, so I can't give until I die. Because, like, December 1st of college, it was like, death is near. I literally was so bedridden, failed all my exams. Failed them completely. But I literally could not do anything. Finals week was, I went back home, and then finals week was the week of the 15th. Failed them. Because I was so out of it. The place I'm sitting here right now, my whole head is still hurting, the same headache from after Thanksgiving break. Ain't nobody to console me. Everybody's moved on. I'm not sitting here bitter about it or wishing or nothing. But I cannot even believe this is my life right now, honestly. Like, the past few days have been just this feeling of complete, like, fever dream type feelings. Like, is this even my life right now? But yeah, I have a lot more to say, but I think I'll keep them for future videos.